Ba ba black sheep, have you any dreams? Are the screams of nightmares yours to keep? Counting sheep, sleeping deep, for once you wake, your soul is Wonderland's to take. Drink the tea, eat the cake, think to flee, defeat the stake. You may shrink, you may grow, you may think it's all for show. The white rabbit away he goes, where he's headed no one knows. Go too far, the queen may weep, then she may take your head to keep. No more dreams, your heart weeps, your forever screams, the queen still keep. Alright guys, so let's get started. I'm so excited. I'm starting off with the Bear With Me Hemp Lip Conditioner to moisture up my lips. To prime my skin, I'm using the Angel Veil Primer and just putting that all over my face. And then I'm putting on the Bear With Me Tinted Skin Veil in the shade Pale Light all over my face with a sponge. And then of course the Can't Stop One Step Concealer in the shade Alabaster to conceal my dirty secrets. Or under eye bags like most people call them. To set my face, I'm using the Can't Stop One Step setting powder in the shade Light. Now let's make an illusion of a sculpture face with the Love Contours All palette. I'm using the two contour shades and just lightly fluffing it on. Speaking of fluff, I'm using the Fill and Fluff eyebrow pencil in the shade Taupe to fill in my eyebrows. And then of course fluffing them up afterwards. And then I'm applying some concealer underneath the brow just to clean it up a bit. To keep the hairs in place, I'm using the Bear With Me Hemp Brow Setter. It's time for the fun part! Oh, I am so excited. This is the SFX cream color in the shade White, and I'm using it to sketch out some clouds and a moon on my forehead, which is fantastic. I love that. Now using the Ultimate Edit Brights palette, I'm using the blue shade to shade in the clouds. If you hear some strange sounds, I promise it's not me, it is my cat and she won't leave me alone. Now for this part, I mixed in some UV activator into the white paint just so it reacts to black light, so that's really fun. For this next part, I'm using the Glow On lip gloss, which actually does light up in UV lighting as well. It's really, really cool, and this is in the shade Floral Space. To look a bit cuter, I'm using the Sweet Cheeks Glow Powder Blush. It's in the shade Rose and Play. I'm putting that on my temples, on my cheeks, and on my cupid's bow before going in with some more white paint to draw on some stars on my face. Then I'm sketching out some sweet, cute, fluffy sheep with wings with the SFX Cream white paint. And then I'm mixing these two paints with the Glow On lip gloss in the shade Violent Violet to get them some skin, and then going in with the same blue shade as on my face and using the same method as I did on the clouds. And just like the clouds, I am underlining the sheep with the Glow On lip gloss in the shade Floral Space. And then going in with the Glow On lip gloss in the shade Violent Violet to make the fence that they're jumping over, flying over. I don't know what they're actually doing. And then I am creating some more stars just to match my face. And also creating some highlights with the white paint on the fence. To create some more depth, I'm using these two shades and underlining the clouds and the sheep. Then using the Ultimate Edit Ash palette to create some shadows. To prime my eyes, I'm using the Pigment Primer, and I mix this with some UV fluid to get it bright and glowing. And then I'm going in with the blue shade again, and I'm creating kind of a cut crease wing type of thing. And then using the Mystic Petals palette in this beautiful violet shade to blend it out. For some drama, using the Glitter Gold liquid eyeshadow in the shade Metropical, and also the Glow On lip gloss again because I just love it and I want some neon. And then I'm using the Duochromatic Illuminating powder in the shade Twilight to brighten up my skin and, you know, highlight the important places. And then I'm using the Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk to brighten up my eyes and make them look a ton bigger. Then I'm using the On The Rise Volume Lift Mascara on my eyelashes. And lining my lips with the Suede Matte Lip Liner in the shade Electroshock. And you guessed it, the Glow On Lip Gloss in the shade Floral Space. This feels so good on the lips. I am actually obsessed with these. And with that, the first look is done. Let's move on to look number 2. And this is the main look for this video, so buckle up. There are a lot of tiny details. I'm not going to show every single product I use for every time. I'm just going to mention it and yeah, just save you guys some confusion. So as always, I'm starting off with sketching out with the cream paint. This is a really good way to sketch everything out because it's really easy to remove and then you can kind of erase it and start over. So definitely do recommend that if you are planning on doing larger pieces. And yeah, to start off, I mixed the blue SFX cream color with some UV activator just to get the jacket glowing, and then going in with some white for the highlights. Mixing the Glow On gloss with the white paint just to get some glowing ears. Black SFX cream color to shade in everything and make it more prominent. This dark blue to shade in the jacket before going in with some white cream color to make some highlights. And some black shadow to intensify the shadows. Also to create some dimension to Mr. Rabbit. And then using the white SFX cream paint to create some hair and texture to Mr. Rabbit. And I'm also using that for the details on his jacket. Mixing the Floral Space gloss with the red SFX cream to create his eyes. And then using the Epic ink liner to make some details. And lastly, adding some sparkle to his eyes. And then just filling in the rest of the chain. Filling up the top part of the keyhole with black and blue paint before going in and making some magic on Alice herself. So for this, I'm using blue paint mixed with white, as well as some black paint, some yellow paint, and of course some shadows and highlights to her hair, very important. Also using the dark blue shade to shade in her dress before going in with Epic ink liner and making some squares. And then I'm using the same white and mixed with a bit of blue as I did on the rabbit, and then shadowing everything in with blue and black. And of course adding in her famous headband. Then I'm just using the blue and white mix again to fill in some of the mushrooms, and using some neon green paint just to get that UV stuff going. These three to get some neon UV reactive purples. I also mixed in some of the pink in some of them just to get that extra warm color, and then shading it in with some dark blue. Then I'm adding some UV paint again just to get things going, and shading in with some blues. Then using the Epic ink liner to make the sharp edge sharper. And the lip gloss again to make some UV magic. For the clock, I used the UV paint mixed with white, and I'm using the blue again to shade in, as well as some black. And the Epic ink liner to create the lines on the clock. I really tried to make numbers, guys, but it did not work. So this is what we're stuck with. Kind of happy with it anyway, so I hope you guys like it too. Using some of that white SFX cream again to create some highlights, and the blue shade to create some shadows. Then I mixed the black and white and a tiny bit of blue into the clock just to get that gray color. And I'm also using a blue to shade everything in. And of course some black paint to create some details, as well as some white to create some highlights. Going in with the Glow On gloss again in the shade Floral Space, of course, and also using some white and blue to shade everything in and making it a pot worthy of drinking tea from, and also some black paint to get some details and shadows going. Then creating some patterns with the white cream mixed with some of the UV paint just to get some details, and using the Glow On lip gloss in the shade Floral Space again to create the drips. And then the Glow On gloss in Violent Violet to shade in before going in with some white to create some highlights. Then I mixed some of the UV paint with the white cream SFX paint again and creating a misty, foggy, like toxic thing. I don't know, it looked cool, so I like it. And then I added some dots just for magicalness, and also some shadows with the Love Contours All palette, as well as the Epic ink liner to really get those shadows going. For the tree, I mixed white, blue, and red cream color just to get that good shade of purple and going in with the Epic Ink liner to create some details. Then adding some highlights with the white cream color, of course. We need that in our lives. It's so good. And then mixing some of the UV paint with the cream color again, just to get those trees popping. We need those to pop. And of course some stars, stuff like that, and extra highlights wherever I felt like I needed it because yeah. And also I added a touch of a detail. I hope you guys can see what that is. And in with some lip gloss, again, the UV kind. Basically just touching up on anything I see that needs touch-ups before moving on to my face and realizing that I have paint in my nose. So that's great for me. And making the tag with the same mix of UV paint and white SFX cream paint and just making it as best as I can. And right now I'm really concentrating on getting this right because I am writing like mirrored. It's apparently very hard for me. So yeah, went in with some highlights and created some shadows. Same methods that I used before. And of course the gloss in the middle of the heart. So beautiful. I love that gloss. And some more highlights, of course. Mr. Rabbit was a bit lonely, so I gave him a few dots as well, and now he's happy as can be. Then I'm using the pigment in the shade Peacock on my eyes. I'm just putting it on with my finger over a pigment primer and blending it out with a brush before going in with this lovely pink shade and blending that in from underneath and also adding a bit of that UV glow in my inner corners. I'm going in with this dark blue shade and just creating a harsher line underneath my eyes to frame them, and also kind of a liner as well just to give them some definition. Using the On the Rise Volume Lift Mascara on my eyelashes. And then using the Duochromatic Illuminating Powder in the shade Lavender Steel to highlight. Then I'm using the Glow On Lip Gloss in the shade Violent Violet again. I love this shade so much, it's so cool. And yeah, I think that concludes this look. So yeah, I hope you guys like this one, and let's move on to the third and last look. I'm starting with my eyes on this one. I'm using the Can't Stop Won't Stop Concealer to prime my eyelids, and then going in with the Ultimate Edit Bright palette and using this wonderful blue shade and this wonderful purple shade. For some more definition and depth, I'm using this dark blue shade and just patting that on my lid. And then I am going in with some black just to deepen it even further, and then going in with the pigment in the shade Egotastic and just putting it on with my finger and in my inner corner. And using the Duochromatic Illuminating Powder in the shade Twilight to highlight. And finishing off with the Sweet Cheeks Glow in the shade Rose and Play before going in with this grayish color to line out the tears. Then I'm adding some white paint to create some highlights, and I'm just trying to follow the general tear shape and making them as realistic as possible. And finishing off with On the Rise Volume Lift Mascara. And using the Violent Violet Glow On Lip Gloss. Again, I'm sorry guys, you're probably sick of seeing it now, but it's so beautiful. And again, sketching out and using the Violent Violet to shade in this heart. I mixed it with some of the blue paint too, just to get a bit of, you know, like variation. And I also spilled a lot on my shirt, so that's great. I'm using the dark blue shade from before, the powder one, the eyeshadow, just to shade everything in and create some definition. And then I'm going in with the Epic Ink liner and just basically lining out everything. And then I'm going in with the dark blue shade from the Ultimate Edit Ash palette again, and just, you know, like softening out the shadows before going in with some white paint to add some glow and, you know, shine to the heart. And I did use a reference picture for this just to get the textures right, because a heart is not something that I have drawn a lot of times. So it's really good to have a picture reference handy. Here I have mixed some of the blue with the white just to get a more, you know, striking highlight color. To create the veins, I'm using the Glow On Lip Gloss in the shades Violent Violet and Floral Space. Then I'm using the white cream paint to add some tears to the heart, because, you know, a weeping heart is what we're trying to get at. And yeah, this is my sad look. I hope you guys liked it. This concludes the end of this video. I am so glad you guys stayed the entire time. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I'm so grateful, and I hope to see you guys real soon. You have a great day.